And now, from the Marquee Media Studio inside Mark Tank, it's the Mark Haney Show.
Yes, this is the Mark Haney Show on a mission to ignite the entrepreneurial revolution right here in the hometown we love. And today we have an interesting show. It's all around the backyard advantage, around entrepreneurs, helping entrepreneurs. But we did an event the other night, and I recorded, well, when I say I recorded, my buddy Scott over here recorded our event where we have a group of entrepreneurs coming in to help a larger group of entrepreneurs. And there was some very insightful discussion around what are we going to do in these uncertain economic times? Because as you know, we all face inflation, we face higher interest rates, we face potentially a shortage of or a lesser degree of funds that might be available. And I think there's uncertainty around many of these markets. And so what are you going to do? What are we going to do with what we've got? That's the discussion that we recorded. And so we're going to play that for today's show. And then at the end of the show, I'm going to talk about the big event that we have coming up on October 5th. It's called GFX. And GFX, I'll share more about it at the end of the show, but it's the largest venture and startup conference ever in the Sacramento region. I'm going to talk about what that is and how you might want to get involved. So stick around. But let me do this too before we go. The people that you're going to hear on the show today are Tyler Clark from Ansync, Danielle Johnson from Asymm Digital, Ken Anderson from Launchbadge, and Dasarte Yarnway from Yarnway Wealth Management. And these are people that really have a lot of experience in this dealing with extending your runway and bootstrapping in these uncertain times. So stick around, my friends. We are helping entrepreneurs be entrepreneurs. And welcome to Entrepreneurs Unleashed. We haven't done this thing for like 3 or 4 years. Feels like it's been forever. But we are back tonight. Any entrepreneurs in the house tonight? Round for entrepreneurs, right? You take risks. You make sacrifices. You change the world. And we are here for you. Okay? We are here for you. I had a woman come up to me the other day and say, Mark, do you think I have what it takes to be an entrepreneur? And I said, you think you could imagine doing anything else? She said, no. I said, I'm sorry. It takes imagination to be an entrepreneur. Am I right? It takes some imagination. And that's what's happened with the Growth Factory. COVID hits, right? We all know this. We're facing this uncertainty, and we ask ourselves the question, what are you going to do with what you got, right? What are you going to do with what you got? Well, we got some imagination. We know a lot of people. Maybe we should start something and attack from a different direction. One of the things that we have is a network of people that we know from all the work that we've been doing in the community for all these years. And you know what? We have a cause that's worth fighting for. We have these things sort of coming together. So we started the Growth Factory, Startup Accelerator, Accompanying Venture Fund, and the Backyard Advantage. So far, we've got over 100 investors, 100 plus mentors. We've invested in 34 companies. It's coming together, my friends. What are you going to do with what you got? Use your imagination, and it can happen. It can happen if you bring the right people together, right? And that collective imagination between Monique, Rick, where are you at? He snuck out. He's got another thing on his mind in the moment. But we use that collective imagination to bring this thing together. And really, this Backyard Advantage concept is all about love, right? Love of entrepreneurship, understanding that entrepreneurs are the heroes of the American economy, and that, you know what? If we can help them, not just the feeling that we have loving entrepreneurs, but the act of love, opening doors, making connections, making it happen, and really transforming our hometown while we help entrepreneurs one entrepreneur at a time. So with that said, the secret sauce to this whole thing, I have to admit, well, first of all, you're probably wondering why I look the way I look tonight. So what are you going to do with what you got? It's our question that we ask as entrepreneurs. But I had that same question today when I was deciding what I was going to wear today. Right? I was like, okay, what am I going to wear today? It's like, what are you going to do with what you got? My wife always says, wear jeans and a cute top. And I was like, okay. So my wife Stacy over here, I'm like, so she's gone this afternoon. So I get the jeans and I'm like, I don't have a cute top. So I snuck into her closet and how do you like me now? Thank you. So with that said, our secret sauce is somebody that has been with me through this journey, battling, helping figure it out, bringing the imagination, Monique Brown.
Thank you. And I'm going to try and get up here, but I don't know if I can get down afterwards. So a little vertigo. It is so great to have this room full again. It has been way too long since we've done this event. It's one of our favorites. And we're just really happy to see the diversity of people in this room, from, our entrepreneurs to some of our LPs and advisors to some fantastic partners. So I just want to give a shout out today to the people who believed in us and who are believing in the work we're doing and are coming alongside us to support this work in our community. The list is here behind Mark, but from 5 Star Bank, Mike Rizzo, glad to have you in the house, who I think was, first through the door and has been longtime supporters of the work we do here in the region. They are the Entrepreneurs Bank. They're an incredible partner to us and to our companies. Can't say enough about that team. Stoll Reeves, Smud Franklin is in the house too. Where did you go, Franklin? Smud's been an incredible partner as well. Natoma Wealth, Greenberg Torek, City of Rockland. I want to give a shout out to our Build Up Rockland companies. So with the City of Rockland, we've partnered to develop a program to support Rockland-based businesses who are impacted by the pandemic, but who have so much upside and potential. Really an honor to work with this group. So we have the makeup bar here. You want to stand up? And we need to love on these guys, love on these guys. So definitely make sure you say hello to them and stop by and hear more about what they're working on. And I don't know where my Code Ninja person is. Is she in the room? Unica is also here from Code Ninjas, so you may have seen her earlier. So please love on these businesses. They are what makes our community strong. So I think that's all I got. So I'm going to give it back to you and just have fun tonight. These guys are amazing. So you're in for a good conversation.
Thank you, Monique. So yeah, what are you going to do with what you got? And right now, one of the things that we're facing is an uncertain economy. Similar, not a lot like the COVID uncertainty, but different, but still challenging. And I think we still have to ask ourselves that question. What are you going to do with what you got? And one of the things that we have is this period where people are worried about where they're going to get their funding, right? How many of you are worried about how you're going to fund your company? Anybody? A couple of you guys? Okay. Everybody seems to be worried about that these days, and maybe even more worried today because inflation is high. We have concerns about, what's that? Silicon Valley Bank is concerned, put everybody into a panic. And, this put us all probably in this realm of wow, what do we got? Do we have inflation? Yeah. What does this mean? What's the Fed going to do? Right? All these things coming to mind. And how do we maybe stretch out our runway as entrepreneurs to make sure that we can make the most out of what we got? So with that said, we brought on a group to help us sort of figure out, maybe use our imagination a little bit on how we might approach this, right? So we have some assets here. When you think about what you got, you got your employees, you got your cash, you got your reputation, you got your imagination, but we also have the backyard advantage. We also have people in this room and in this community that care about helping you. So I want to introduce our panelists here. Tyler Clark. He is with Ansync, and we'll let you guys do a better job introducing yourself. Danielle Johnson, founder and CEO of Asymm Digital. Ken Anderson, CEO of Launchbadge, and Dasarte Yarnway. He's the founder of Yarnway Wealth Management. So I'm gonna kick it over to Dasarte. I'll throw out the question. Maybe just give a little bit of your quick background, but then you help entrepreneurs, and as we approach these uncertain times, maybe just some thoughts on how we might want to put things into perspective.
Well, thank you so much. My name is Dasarte Yarnway. I'm the founder and managing partner of Yarnway Wealth Management. Our firm specializes in helping business owners scale and sell their businesses. We specialize in something called QSBS. Have you heard of that? Qualified sale of business stock. In the state of California, if you look at section 1202 of the tax code, that allows you to sell your business using qualified business stock, but get up to $10 million of that sale federally tax-free. So we try to make sure that entrepreneurs that are starting their businesses, scaling their businesses, trying to obtain funding, keep more of their money in their pocket, right? And I think that you do that at the onset of your business. Now, to your question, as it pertains to these unprecedented times, I want to say that everything that we're going through has been done before, or has happened before, right? So prior to SVP, there was 562 bank failures. 3 more since SVP. You had First Republic Bank, Silicon Valley Bank, and another smaller bank that happened, right? We've gotten through it. It's your responsibility, though, as the entrepreneur, as the founder, to begin to plan, execute, and scale on your way. So we'll talk about that, I'm sure, in the conversation. But again, Dasarte Yarnway, Yarnway Wealth, and I look forward to joining these panelists in the conversation.
Go ahead.
You want me to go? Okay. I'm Ken Anderson. I'm the CEO of Launchbadge. I had a little bit of experience with one of the the most active blockchain, starting it, taking it from zero to a $6 billion valuation, and then decided that I was going to hire a bunch of Oracle execs to take over management of that company, and then come back and work with my software company here in Sacramento and capitalize on that success with that company as well. So Launchbadge is my company. We consider ourselves kind of like the special forces of software development. If you've got a hard problem and or a problem that's been nagging you for a long time and money's not an object, then you call us in and we fix it fast and right. And if money is an object, we get scrappy. And that's probably why Mark has me up here too, because we've come up with some alternative methods for working with some of our partners and clients of, when they have a limited budget, but they need our skill set, we figure out how to incorporate equity or keep wanting to say SAFT, but SAFE. SAFT is all the cryptocurrency version of a SAFE. But that type of methodology to ensure that we can get the project built and we can do it within the budget that's necessary for a startup. But that's...
Can you elaborate on that though? So walk me through let's give me a case study on if I'm a startup and I see you, how could you help me?
Yeah. So, if you go, I actually have Mason over here, who's my head of biz dev over on the front there in the green shirt, but he's the guy who does all the heavy lifting in the company when it comes to negotiating these things. But we announce our retail rate at $250 an hour because we're worth more than that. Sometimes we pay, clients will pay more than that if they need things more urgently or they're more risky to work on. But $250 an hour is our retail rate. If you come to us and say, I need to have 1,000 hours worth of work, we're going to say that's $250,000. And if you come and say, well, I've only got 150,000 that I can allocate towards this engineer, and we go, okay, how do we cover that $100,000 difference? And sometimes that comes in the form of a SAFE. Sometimes it can be in rev share. As a matter of fact, we've been working with the Growth Factory on a model that I'm not sure anybody wants to talk about it yet, so I'm not going to talk too deeply about it. But it's kind of a hybrid between the two of rev share and a SAFE. You can think of it as like a convertible rev share. And but that's an example of how we would approach a startup who's looking to get their company going and maybe needs to get scrappy on how they spend their money.
I'm looking in the audience and I see my good buddy John Keltner over there, and he and I worked together in a startup of sorts that was up against the wall in debt and worried about our runway. And we made the decision to sell our way out of it, raise money from our customers. And so I want to bring on Danielle, maybe introduce yourself a little bit to think about like how we might approach this from hey, let's just drive some revenue piece.
Yes. Hi, I'm Danielle Johnson. I'm really happy to be here. I'm the CEO and founder of Asymm Digital, which is a full funnel digital and programmatic marketing agency. So I help businesses and brands of all sizes kind of best utilize their marketing dollars to help drive revenue. I have been in the space for 17 plus years now, working for companies large and small. Started my career at NBC Universal, worked for Fandango Go Online, and most recently worked for a mid-tier digital marketing agency that I helped scale and grow to be acquired by a company called Learfield, which is a $2 billion multimedia rights sports sponsorship company. So I've stepped away from that once I got them past earnout, and I've started my own thing. So for me, marketing is a really important piece of the sales and revenue generation plan of any organization. I think a lot of companies look at it as a cost center, but really I think it's a revenue driving center, and it needs to be managed with a lot of data and really some strict goals around how you can use those marketing dollars and get back that return on ad spend, so that you're actually seeing and using tactics and optimizing to tactics that help you drive revenue for your businesses.
So when is it a mistake to not spend on marketing? So we have this, what are you going to do with what you got moment, extend runway. When is it the right decision to go ahead and spend on marketing? And when is it maybe the wrong decision?
Well, I think first and foremost, there's a lot of things that you can be doing on your own to prepare yourself to for when you do have budget to let those dollars go much further. I mean, if you think about all of the privacy conversations that have been happening around digital marketing for the last, really heating up the last 4 or 5 years with GDPR and CCPA and all these other legislations that kind of puts the power of data privacy in the hands of the consumer. First party data that you own, people who have raised their hands and said, yes, I would like you to market to me. I want to be on your email list. I'm going to your website. I'm liking your social media pages. That first party data is at a premium. So there's so many things that you can be doing organically without money to grow those audiences, build your email list, so that when it comes time to spend money, I wouldn't even say that's the first or second thing you do. You start by building those CRM lists. You start by getting a following. Like, you guys are experts in your businesses, whether it's a webinar, whether it's, white papers or content or something valuable that your targeted consumer wants to engage with. You build that audience, and that audience is so much cheaper to reach than trying to find an audience that has never engaged with you before that you think is maybe your audience profile. So I would say really invest a lot of time and energy and effort in getting that first party data, and then we can start talking about spend if you don't have a lot, because you want that money to go as far as it can.
Yeah. So we have people in the audience that are at the beginning stages, maybe the idea stage. We're going to build this product, potentially build this software system, or maybe we've got the prototype. Maybe we can have Tyler talk about what you do and how that might apply to those people.
Yeah. So Danielle mentioned something about data, and my name's Tyler. I really just do numbers, so I don't do anything interesting. If you like accounting, come talk to me. If not, you should talk to the rest of the team. But data is the new oil, and devices, that's our space. So we're a R&D prototype and early phase manufacturer company. And almost everything we do is around data capture and data analysis and data management and basically automation. So that's really our sweet spot, but really having a plan. If you're an entrepreneur and you have an idea, and I love the love aspect that you mentioned, Mark, but I think it starts with a belief. You have a belief in something. You're solving a problem, and you believe you have what it takes to solve it. And so using that belief and thinking what data can I use to navigate this runway with the dollars that I have, and how can I maximize those dollars against the data and measure my efforts is kind of critical. So that's.
Well, you mentioned plan, make a plan, work the plan is one of my mantras. And so as you begin to use your imagination, you put all your assets and liabilities into a pile. And for me, I like to use a dry erase board, and then hopefully bring the right people in to create the plan and build the plan and then execute on that. So just thinking about that, Dasarte, you help people plan stuff, right? And execute. What does that look like for this group of entrepreneurs potentially? And maybe we need to get a little investigation going on who's here, but there's some early stage companies and some companies that are rocking a little bit further.
Yeah, I guess we can talk about mistakes that people make when they start to get into entrepreneurship. One of the mistakes that people make is they don't define what they want to do with the business. And from a financial planner, wealth management standpoint, it's helpful for us. I have this mental model in my mind, hey, if you are trying to get capital for your business, you should organize it in this way. If you want to sell your business, you should probably create a C Corp, QSBS, own it for 5 years, and then you can sell that business at whatever price, and you can house a lot more of that money tax free. So first, define like, what's the intention? Are you building a feature that you think can get acquired? Are you trying to, get Series A, B, C funding and maybe IPO? What's your goal for this business? People talk about product market fit a lot, and I've been reading a lot of articles about product market fit lately. And the issue in the startup community. So just background, I, over the course of the last 6 or so years, I've invested in 5 companies, 3 of which have exited. I'm hoping for 1 more right now, but we'll see how that looks like. But people talk about product market fit and people raising money without a solution for a company, or they're not doing anything. It's just a cool idea, right? Figure out where you sit in the market. I think that's important as well. And then, really build your business around the ideal customer. I think as you start to build out, those are 3 things that you should kind of look into doing.
So Ken, when you're thinking about getting funding for your business, you can bootstrap it, you can get some bank financing, you can take on investors. How do you go about making those kind of decisions when you're wanting to build out your dream?
Yeah, that's always a tricky question, because I think inherently as an entrepreneur, you want to keep as much of it for yourself. And I always say 100% of nothing is not worth a whole lot. And so I think it takes an expert, somebody to help you with that strategy and that plan, to sit down and say, okay, what are your goals? Is your goal to build an annuity, just a company that's going to run forever that you're going to always have an income from? That's a different strategy of how you raise money, or whether you take debt to accomplish some of your goals. Versus I want to exit in 5 years. That's a very different strategy, at which point you have to be ready to give up all of your equity at some point. So might as well start doing that sooner than later. But it really takes understanding what your goals are. So I'm going to reiterate what he said here, but understanding what your goals are, and then catering your funding strategy accordingly.
So Danielle, you're a startup as well, right? You left a great job, and so you can probably relate to anybody who's starting a business. There's the emotions. Maybe talk through that emotional journey, because you made it through. You've made it past, and you're still going. Any words of wisdom for people that might be stressed about what we're going through right now, have concerns?
I think I said this to you the first time we met, but I made an agreement with myself when I started this that said, anytime I hear a voice of self-doubt for 1 year, I'm just going to ignore her. We're going to say, we'll address you at another time. Right now, we're just focused very firmly on the next 12 months and what we can be doing. And I'm sure at the 12-month mark, I'll make that agreement again and again. And I think it's really just about, I don't want to say ignoring your feelings, but really just doing the work. I think the more I do the work, the less anxious or emotional I feel. I think also leaning on the fact that it's what your point, Tyler, when you said it's about a belief. I think it's as much about a belief in yourself and what you're capable of. And I've seen myself sit at tables as the only woman, and I've done the thing. So if I can do the thing for someone else, girl, you can do it for yourself. And that's kind of the talk that I have with myself every single day. And I think that applies to everyone in one way or another way. Just kind of knowing that when you show up and you do the work, there's something really amazing on the other side. We've all had jobs. I think that this is something different. And I recently said that to my husband, I'm working 15-hour days over here, but I love it. I've never been happier to get out of bed. So I think just kind of leaning into those feelings and not the others kind of keeps me going.
What about this one? We'll go at Tyler, since he's the numbers guy. So building a business that cash flows, right? There are businesses that you can be making a profit on, and the more you grow, the tougher it gets, right? And then there are ways of structuring your business so it ends up cash flowing better. You touch on that, maybe some ideas around how to stretch the dollar by maybe targeting certain customers that pay sooner, and those kind of things.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said in that space. I think I could probably tell you best how we approach it from a project standpoint. We see more pitch decks than we should, and it's very strange how few of them have revenue as a part of their story. They have these crazy numbers that are 10, 15 years out, and so really And there's also very few that have cost as a part of their story. So as an accountant, I'm always looking at like operating costs. Like, how much is it going to cost you? Like, whose salaries are you paying? Where's this coming from? So I think from an entrepreneur standpoint, as someone that's looking to run like a lean company, reducing their OpEx and really revenue focused is most likely to show an investor, or most likely to have a clear path to showing their investor return.
Can I chime in on that a little bit? Talking about the numbers and all that stuff, right? If I was an entrepreneur starting, especially for like tech right now, I would have these 4 people on my team. Number one, I would have a financial planner or advisor specifically with business focus, right? Helping your business get from point A to point B. I would have an attorney that specializes in working with businesses, right? So if you have a partner, maybe doing like a buy-sell agreement that's funded, so in the case you guys split, you know who takes what. I would have an accountant, somebody that can go through those numbers, just like you said, right? And kind of highlight some things that you might be missing, because the data does not lie. And then I would have a bookkeeper, right? When you're in the process of, building your business, you're going to have a lot of expenses. So when you go to an investor and you want to get aligned with that investor, they're going to be like, how much does it cost? And when you come back for more money, they're going to be like, what do you need this money for? Right? And you'll be able to show these expenses through all of the bookkeeping data that you have. Give you an example. I consulted for a company just like you did, like a rev share type of thing. I was like, pay me in equity. That was my hashtag all of 2020. Like, I don't even want the cash, just pay me in equity, right? So they did a Series A for $8 million. They did a bridge round. Then they did a Series B, closed Series C for 125, and recently closed a Series D for like 199 or some crazy amount of money, right? But they were able to show the data. Like, this is what we're spending on. Building this technology costs, right? So I think that data that you're talking about helps you to align with the right investors, allows you to get the data on growth, and almost allows you to minimize mistakes as you try to scale your business. So extremely important.
100%. And I think it's not just real-time data, like real-time financial reports that you can make business decisions off of. It's projective data. And I think anyone that shows you something farther than 24 months, it starts to get really gray. Yeah. So like having a 6, 12, 18, 24 month plan towards revenue ops, and really also around your operating cost to say, hey, this is what we plan on spending in operating cost internally on projects. And for our strategic business units at our company, we do a 5 line item financial, which is revenue, cost of sales, payroll, general admin costs, and I think, is that 5? Oh, and then capital expense. So
choosing partners, right? Nobody builds a truly great company alone. Where do you get these partners? And how do you choose them?
Date them.
Yeah.
Date them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry. So one of the companies that I invested in, they just, again, closed their Series D, and they dated this venture capital firm for like a year. They were out going to dinner, talking, because when you choose an investor or a partner or a business partner, it's almost like a marriage. You know what I mean? Like, you have to be vulnerable with a person. They have to be willing to watch you fail and willing to reach down and save you in the event that things go awry, right? So I think that you have to give it some time. We're in a place where, I guess we're leaving a place where money was easy, right? People were just handing out money all the time, right? Like, hey, you have an idea, here you go. No product market fit, no background, no MVP. Just take my money and hopefully you can do something with it, right? We are not in that place anymore. So in order to get that investor that wants to hand you a check, you have to really build that rapport, and hopefully you have some product behind it that can speak for itself. So I think that founders today need to really be in this for the long game, right? It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be a one-page deck, one slide deck. You're going to have to prove your worth with numbers, with revenue, with idea that's disruptive, solving a problem, or helping a lot of people. So I'll shut up now.
I'm going to add to what both of them said. And I really need to get like an Apple Watch so that I can read what my head of biz dev is saying over there to me without pulling my phone out. So we're talking about the expenses a little bit. I'll just kind of anecdotally talk about what I've experienced in the software space. Usually, if you haven't built production software before, you haven't been a CTO, or you haven't been VP of software production or engineering, it's probably 3 to 5 times what you think it's going to be as far as the cost of building software the right way. Because you can build crappy software and take investor money and then fail on the delivery of the technology. Or you can spend the right amount of money and make it work and be confident that it's going to get the market and succeed as a product. But it's almost always more expensive. I've had a few clients that came to us and they were like, oh, we're only going to spend this much to build our product. And then I look at how much they raise and I'm like, you're spending 10% of your raise on building the product and you're a software company. Like, how is only 10% of your raise going towards building the software? Where's the rest of it going? And they're like, oh, patents and legal and licensing and marketing. And it's like, but you're a software company. Like, none of that means anything if you don't have the software. So something that we've been working on, and we've been working with Growth Factory on this actually, is we actually have a discovery package that we're selling. It's just a flat price discovery for 30 days. And what it does is it de-risks the technical component of both requirements and cost and product roadmap. So what we've been doing is we're saying, hey, listen, kind of to your point of dating, like, you don't know us. I can show you my resume. I can show you our client list. We can, go out to lunch and talk about what we've accomplished. Or you can pay me $5,000 and in 30 days, I'll give you approximately a 30-page report that tells you, here's what I think your requirements are going to look like. Here's what your roadmap's going to look like. Here's what the cost is going to be. And now you get to take that document and go to your investors and say, okay, I've done the expense part of what I think this product's going to take to get to either into production or into an MVP phase, depending on what phase of your product development you're in. So I think kind of a combination of you can date for relatively cheap and then still meet the requirements of like having realistic expectations on your expenses.
I think that. No?
Sort of.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, I think to Dasarte's point is having an oikos or a group of trusted naysayers or people that'll give you like a little bit of a reality check on like, hey, that's a dumb idea. Like, or hey, like, you should talk to so-and-so. Like, they're an attorney and I think they're in that space. They might not be the right attorney for you. They might not be able to work on patent law, or they might not be able to protect your IP, but they might know someone who is, because they're in that space. And most of them are willing to have those first couple conversations, and then you get a social investment from those folks of like, hey, like, I've talked to you, like, that's a really interesting idea. Then they start to believe in what you're doing, and you start to like leverage this backyard advantage where people are saying like, hey, like, keep me updated. Like, I'm too expensive for you now, but once you get to 10 people and $1 million raise, like, we need to talk right away. So they can kind of give you some of that insight.
Can I comment on that? Okay, sorry. I like to use like real examples from the clients that I work with. So I have a client now, and they have a headquarters in Nigeria, and they also have a headquarters here in Granite Bay or around that area. I'm new to this Sacramento area. So what they do is they have a POS system that they pretty much make a lot of their money on transactions. So they go around buying businesses that have high transaction volume to show that data on the financial statements. Okay. Now, the guy that runs the business, who's the co-founder, super bright guy. He has a host of investors from London, Cambridge, School of Economics, like great investors. And I was able to like go into like one of their meetings with them just to be like, hey, well, here's the data. And then I kind of left, right? But he left that meeting. He was like, Dasarte, these guys are the nicest guys until our quarterly meetings. You know what I mean? When we go into the quarterly meetings, it's like they're my worst enemy, right? They are looking for reasons why I'm not doing this smarter, sharper, like their pockets are deep. But when we go into that meeting, it's a war. Like, they want to know, why haven't I thought about this? Why haven't I done this? Do you see how much money you're spending here? Right? So to your point, it's like, you have to know your stuff. You have to have the data. It pays to pay someone like this to help you to realize those expenses and costs ahead of time. And that's going to help you as you go from phase to phase, right? You talk about like not having a time horizon longer than 10 years. I think that's super smart. One of my favorite sayings that I tell myself, I have my like imaginary board of directors of people who I would want to be on my board. I don't even know them, but they're smart, right? And I tell myself to think big, but operate small. So after you collect that data, right, you go through the forms, you're now able to have this macro plan, like 5 years, QSBS, I want to exit. I'm going to sell my company for $100 million. I'm going to pocket X amount federally tax free. I'm going to pay my ordinary impact tax, income tax for California, and I'm going to pocket 20 million, right? Because I've done the planning, but you have to operate small using that data to get there, right? So that's just an example of like how I've seen investors speak with and like critique the people that they believe in over time. So just wanted to say that because all of this is kind of coming full circle to like the actual work that we do on a day-to-day basis.
You know, everything's a leadership issue, and winning as an entrepreneur, you end up having to lead through good times and bad times, and those change. So I'm wondering from the audience, right? We have some really successful people in the audience. I see Jim over there. We've got bankers that know the collective wisdom in this group around how to navigate challenging times. I want to make sure I open up the answering piece to them as I open it up to our audience, right? Any questions from our audience now? And I may call on somebody in the audience to help field the question. Yeah.
Similarly to the paying the $5,000 for a software sort of scope of work, how would you sort of go on the marketing path and estimate those expenses?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the marketing conversation and investment starts with really understanding your objective. Like, is it, I have to hit a certain number of subscribers. I would like to hit a certain number of revenue. And you kind of back into like, how many people do I need? Like, and how many people do I need to reach and where do they exist? There's a lot of science that comes into building a marketing strategy. And from that point, I think you have to leave some room for testing. Like one of my favorite things about programmatic and digital is that like you start with this premise and you build this budget and you build this strategy, but you have to let the machine learning and the AI and you build all these things. You have to let that play out for a little bit and you learn and you test and then you grow. So, I think you have to look at the targets that you have, the goals that you have, what is feasible, the return on ad spend you'd like to see, and you track towards the revenue and the profit that you're trying to see. If it's not working, you pivot, you try something else. So I think there's lots of ways to start small and grow big, and then eventually marketing like starts to pay for itself and then some. To answer your question. Yeah. Thanks, Steve.
So everything you're just saying is Japanese to me.
Sure.
So, and I'm a hairstylist.
I've invented
I'm a curly hair hairstylist, actually.
I'm going to need to get your phone number.
Love what I do. But I've invented some tools for curly hair to make their life experience at home much easier.
Sold.
And so,
where's the safe agreement?
Right.
So I have no idea what you're saying or where someone like me would even step out the door to begin. Like I wouldn't even know where to make a goal or where to start or, anything like that.
You're here.
Yeah.
Good job.
I think you know more than you think you do. Like, your market. Your audience is curly haired gals or guys in the, whatever, greater Sacramento area.
I've been using these tools in my salon for 3 or 4 years, and my clients are like, Sherry, it's time to make these so we can buy them and use them.
Yeah.
Actually, that guy right there, you should probably talk to.
Yeah. I
prototype.
think, and other people might be able to use this too, is I found a very useful exercise is doing a 1-page executive summary, which is, hey, and this is all like, I'm just telling you stuff you've all heard before, which is, what is my vision for this thing? What is my vision for this? Like, what do you want it to be? Like, that's where Dasarte comes in and says like, hey, like, are you going to sell? You have a great idea. Like, what's your exit plan? Or is there an exit plan? Or are you just going to be the next Jeff Bezos? Like, what's the mission? Like near term, how do you craft a mission around that? That's really your doctrine, that as you build this enterprise that you're going to work around and that everyone in that enterprise should march to. And then the most valuable, I think, is like your ideal client profile, your ICP, what does my client look like? Who are they? Like, what's that demographic that I can then talk with a marketing person and say, this is who my audience is. And what you might find from them is that audience is going to change as you scale. And then one thing I like to include in that is like, what are the values? Like, is honesty the most important thing? Is integrity the most important thing? Is taking people's money and having zero customer service so we can burn as many people's, like you could define your value set in that really might help with that ecosystem as you build this brand. To speak to your question of like, how do I get a thing made or manufactured? It really depends on what that looks like. There's very little domestic onshore, and it really starts with, hey, like mostly connecting with industrial design folks and say like, hey, this is what your idea looks like. And it might be a napkin where you say like, hey, someone in industrial design can tell me what this consumer product should look like. And then the homework you can do before the fact, before you actually talk with that person, is say like, hey, like, is there anything else out there like this thing? What's my competition look like? And then really start to think of like, hey, how much is it going to cost to get someone to actually do this design, to make something concrete that exists, where I can say like, hey, look, here's a picture of my idea, or here's a functional prototype. It sounds like you have some already. So
Monique, how are we doing on time? Well, okay, one more question. Okay, I'm going to ask it then. So we got Mike Rizzo over here with 5 Star Bank. I look over there, there's another banker here too. And he's like, what are we going to see a year from now in terms of banks and lending? What should we anticipate if we're building businesses right now?
It's a tough landscape, Mark. I would tell you that, the delayed economic impact has been what has happened in the last month, and that there is going to be a pullback in lending. And you've got SVB, who's now out of the picture, right? Who service a lot of startup companies. So that is going to be taken up by some banks, but at the same time, there's going to be a learning curve on those banks, right? So you've got a period of time where there's a vacuum that needs to be filled, and it's going to take a lot of guts on a lot of banks in a time frame that is a little uncertain. And you've got, but you've got a willingness to do that, because I do believe that there's a group of banks out there that understand the value of what SVB did, and that they will fill that niche, and we're part of that, right? But it's going to take a little time. At the same time, the economy is a little less than it was before. There's a lot more, so there's a pullback. There definitely is a pullback. We've seen a significant decrease in loan activity. And I think every single bank on the planet has. Right?
My God.
Anything else, they're lying.
I think you hit that.
So I think that's kind of what you're looking at, right? So you've got to be able to bootstrap, raise equity capital, which you've always had to do, but even to a more significant degree today.
I agree with you 100%. Yeah. And I just wanted to say that was spot on. I think that, I don't know if you've been watching what's happening in tech and NASDAQ companies, but they're laying off a lot of people right now. Meta just laid off like another couple thousand people, and you won't be able to see those results. They're lagging results. So as new earnings reports come out for this quarter, they're going to be bad. And the stock market is going to price that in to what's going on now. So it won't be for about 2 or 3 quarters until we see the effects of them, cutting costs off their balance sheets and things of that nature, right? So
to the point that, you have the interest rate rising, which is pushing things down, but the effect that it's having on banks is a more lagging effect.
Exactly.
And it's not yet seen.
Mm-hmm. I want to talk about something real quick.
Okay, yeah, we only have the second left, so
let's end on a positive note.
No, okay.
I will do that.
So sorry about that. It wasn't even, I just wanted to say, because there's a lot of things that startup founders want to know, right? And I think something that I've seen recently, that I've seen lacking in a company that just sold for $110 million that works with us, and another company, the difference was they had a technical founder and like a salesman. And I don't know who's building what here, or like if it's tech or if it's not, but I think that's an important thing to have in any like startup company. Like there's builders and then there's sellers, right? And I think that you have to have both to scale your company, because I'm watching it happen in real time. Some people are going to be great at like, give us your stuff, we'll get scrappy with it, right? But having that guy in the green shirt over there, he's going to go out and sell it, right? Like this is what we'll be able to do for you. So I wish we had more time to kind of like break down the different pieces of what you should have. But if you're thinking about getting the investments, right? There's a sales component to that. And I don't think you can really scale a good business without being able to sell that idea. The curly hair, I have a curly hair daughter. She just turned 1 next month, right? It's like, you got to sell that as well. You got to build it and sell it. So not a good note, but something I thought we would mention.
That's the dating aspect that he's talking about. And I was give an example of Five Star Bank, right? So we went public and almost 2 years ago to the day in May 5th of this year, will be 2 years. And we dated our investment banks for at least 12 years, 12, maybe longer, right?
It's a long courtship.
Was that they understood our story as much as we understood our story, so that we could go out at top of market, which we did. And so it would never happen if you hadn't dated that investment banker for that long length of a time and gone out to dinner and play golf and go to the birthday parties and do this and that, right? Become friends with them. So that, I think, just goes a very long way. And it's something that's got to be such a long-term goal. And we didn't even know we wanted to go public, right? But we were still kind of keeping that road open, that option open. And so, to your point, and just make sure that you develop the relationships, significant, strong relationships along the way. Because you don't know what path you're going to take.
Plant those seeds.
So, I'll leave us on some final notes too. That
it's true.
This is a time when we have to look within, right? Everything is a leadership issue, and when you're facing times that are less certain, we have to look within. We have to stop, pause, look within, and use our imagination, because in reality, opportunity is everywhere, right? You showed up tonight not thinking that you were very far along in your idea, but people heard it and they're excited about it. That's because you showed up, right? That's because you showed up. And I think you decided to do that. You led that. The first person we need to lead is us, right? Before we start leading other people. Let me get myself right. Let me make sure I'm doing what I need to do. Make sure I'm showing up and put the people in our lives that can help us tap into that imagination, right? Where does that imagination come from? It might come from you in solitude in your bedroom thinking about it. Okay, that's where it works. Great. Sometimes it's here in a group where we have a little bit of idea sharing and a light bulb that Dasarte says like, oh, okay, dating, great idea. These ideas come. Now, I'll leave you with this story. Quick one. There's these two fish swimming along, going nice and slow, and they come across this older fish swimming the other direction. And the older fish says to the younger fish, hey boys, how's the water? The other two fish keep swimming along and they're like, what the hell is water, right? What the hell is water? Opportunity and ideas are everywhere. When I see the people in this room, I see opportunity. I see imagination. I see ideas. We need to have the guts to tap into that. We have to find the leader within us to tap into the imagination, the collective imagination that's in this backyard and that's on the stage. So I want to thank all of you for coming on and sharing your wisdom, hopefully sparking a little bit of imagination for the people in this room. You're what is making us stronger. We're all working together to make this happen. Thanks for all coming out tonight. Welcome back to the Mark Haney Show. Great show, different, but hopefully you enjoyed the discussion. Very interesting to hear about, this concern that even it's going to be tougher to borrow money if you're a Main Street company that's out looking for money to borrow. It might be a little bit tougher, and we heard that today. But what we know as entrepreneurs is we've got to be scrappy either way. And the most forward-leaning entrepreneurs and venture capitalists will be meeting up on October 5th at GFX. And that's something that you want to put on your calendar now, maybe even get your tickets now, decide how you want to be involved now. We have great speakers coming in to talk about the state of startup venture capital and, just a wealth of information and wisdom is going to be imparted to the startups and to the venture capitalists and to the civic leaders of Sacramento all around this asset class. So you're going to want to get this. It's October 5th at the grounds in Roseville. And there should be about 1,200 people is what we're expecting. So tickets are already on sale. I think there's an early bird discount now. We're also looking for partners. There's people that are partnering with us. And it's just going to be a great day. At the heart of this is love, right? I talk about this as in terms of the backyard advantage, right? Entrepreneurs helping entrepreneurs. And it's really love is at the center of this. And so we're going to be figuring out how to show some love to our fellow entrepreneur and fellow venture capitalist, fellow Sacramentan at GFX on October 5th. So I hope you decide to get involved. But to all you out there fighting the good fight for entrepreneurship, for our freedom, for our security, for our way of life, here at the Growth Factory, the Mark Haney Show at Haney Biz, we're never above you, never below you, always by your side.
Thanks for watching today's show. My goal for every episode is that you find a takeaway, something tangible you can use in your business today. And if you have a comment about a favorite takeaway, feel free to put it in the box below. And if you have a topic that you'd like me to bring up on the show, don't forget to let me know. And also, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you want to learn more about entrepreneurship. Because at Haney Biz, we are always by your side.